Hello, good evening, and welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be going over some more of Frankie Boyle's New World Order, and this is Series 3, Episode 3. This is about feminism and patriarchy, as you can see on screen, and this is quite a long segment, and I'm aware that my videos do run over quite a bit of time. Oh, and I got my first dislike, so thank you for that. I'm internet famous already. Yes, infamous. Great. So, without further ado, let's see if there's any substance here whatsoever.
It's time patriarchy stepped back into the shadows of power and pretended to give some authority to women.
Great. So, what is patriarchy? Well, we've got dictionary definitions of a system of society or government in which the father or eldest male is head of the family and descent is reckoned through the male line. Doesn't seem to be what we're referring to, because that is nepotism. Okay, fine. A system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. I think that's what you're referring to. I mean, it isn't if we're going with like purchasing power. It's women who control the economy because, of course, they are spending the most money. Apparently not earning it because of the pay gap, which is the earnings gap, in which case how do they get the money? Well, it's from men, but I've mentioned this before. And thirdly, a society or community organised on patriarchal lines, which goes back to the first point, in which case it is the male bloodline and goes through in a nepotistic manner. So it isn't that. So it is a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Obviously not, and they have to say largely excluded to have a weasel word in there, but it clearly isn't true when you have, well, you've got Angela Merkel for the EU, you've got Theresa May for England for however much longer, Nicola Sturgeon for Scotland, and Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II of Windsor for the entirety of the UK and the Commonwealth. So she owns about a sixth of the world. The next contender is Putin, of course. Okay, right, let's go on.
There are double standards applied to men and women. If a man sleeps with a lot of women, he's a stud. If a woman does the same thing, she's a lesbian.
I'm a big fan of that joke as well. I laughed earlier, I assure you. But obviously his point is the whole thing with the key and the lock, that if you have a key that opens all the locks, it's a very good key. If you have a lock that opens to any key, then it's a bad lock. And maybe that is a crude metaphor, but you get the idea. And it's from, if you view the evolutionary perspective of wanting to know who is the parent of your offspring. If a woman sleeps around a lot, then the guy who goes with her doesn't know if the child that then comes about is his or not, and he doesn't want to raise someone else's child because he's then not propagating his genes, which is the point for the propagation of whatever species you're talking about.
I do think there's a lot of fragility and a lot of insecurity to male privilege. I mean, the main refrain of British porn is, you love it, you fucking love it, you slag.
Right, so men are focusing on trying to please women. They want to do things which the women enjoy. Great, I'm glad we've removed the possibility of rape culture being mentioned so early on.
And I always watch that thinking, who are you trying to convince? You know, what I hear is, do you love it? Do you love me? Can anyone love me? Did my father love me?
Yeah, the father's gone, and I'm sure we all know about why that is the case, considering women decide to marry the welfare state instead. It is particularly prevalent in black communities in America, of course, which had a strong uptick of single mother households when the welfare state came in, because just being a single mother was a viable life option, and true was, and it was the same in the UK as well, getting, I think, 25k a year as a single mother, which has thankfully been changed since. But obviously there is continued damage going on from the boys and girls, any children, who were raised without the presence of a father. But in this, he's saying that men are too focused on receiving validation from women, and with female entitlement on the increase, more men are deciding to be MGTOW, and are often conflated with incels, involuntary celibate. And I'm sure I don't need to mention the decrease in the amount of sex that men are having at a younger age. Women are largely unaffected, which of course means they're having sex with older men, but that is the path that men are choosing to go down. Let's see what else he has to say.
Joining us to discuss feminism, please welcome comedian Jen Brister!
Okay, I won't presume the gender of this androgynous individual, lest they be offended, but I might change my mind later, and I reckon it'll be important to have them introduced as a comedian. Just in case. It's good to be prepped to know if you should laugh or not.
Jen, how you doing? Welcome
I'm
aboard.
good, Frankie.
What do you feel about the whole way feminism's going at the minute?
It's just tedious.
Tedious, really. It's more than tedious to the people of whose lives are being destroyed by the infiltration of victimhood culture into daily life. People who have false accusations, and women being propped up on pedestals so that anything they say is apparently true, and believe all women. Yeah, that destroys a lot of people's lives, and the consequences of which affect both men and women. Hopefully we'll get into that.
We're having, like, the same conversation over and over again, having to explain to some men.
The same conversation again, then maybe actually move forward with a criticism and understand that there are people holding legitimate opinions, as a throwback to the last episode, people who don't agree with you and don't want to further the two-tier legal system in the UK favouring women. I can give you proof for this if you want lighter sentences for the same crimes, or divorce courts where women get child custody and alimony. That is the main way the things are done, and you have to prove that the woman isn't worthy of having the children because she is presumed to be the one who will take them. And I know that some people say, oh, then women are the poor people who have the responsibility of having to have the children. Oh yeah, how bad is it to be able to see your children? Isn't that awful? Maybe that goes to show why women who have a full-time job and then have children decide to not go back to work at the same rate that they did before they had children. But we'll get into that later as well. If it's so bad, people wouldn't choose to do it. There's more to life than money. Money is a metric for success, but many people prefer to have a family and the loving environment therein instead of just chasing money. Stop thinking that money is all that matters. Seems to be what you're doing.
How the patriarchy benefits them and doesn't women.
Okay, I'm yet to hear how the patriarchy benefits any men at all. And this entire segment points out how the apparent existence of the patriarchy is at the detriment to men as well. So who do you think is propping this up if it hurts literally everyone?
And it just feels like every time we get anything, even the smallest privilege, we're made to feel like we should be grateful.
Please be specific with your privileges. And yes, surely you should be grateful if you receive a privilege, by definition. After all, privileges are not rights. Rights are things you are born with, of which the government can only take away. They can bestow you privileges, but that is at the cost of limiting the liberty of someone else.
You know, got the vote.
Yes, the vote. What a great example. Women got the vote after the First World War, after many domestic terrorists committed arson and attempted to murder many men. They are the only terrorists we've given in to, and now they are commemorated, celebrated, like Emily Pankhurst in Manchester. Monument of her was put up recently. Deeds, not words. Great. Great when those deeds are killing people, isn't it? But we'll get to that another time. What is the cost for a man to vote? His life. He must be willing to go to war in order to be able to choose who sends him to war. For a woman, nothing at all. That is not equal. That favours women. Why not choose property requirements, like they did before? Not gender. It used to be the case where rich women could vote, even before poor men could. Because then you're choosing how your money is spent, not how other people's money is spent, and how much of other people's money you should be getting. You see, more women voting, the greater the social state, and the welfare and the social safety net. The welfare state and the social safety net. And that is not sustainable. Which is why I encourage everyone to get a private pension and do your own investments and not rely on the government, because that ain't going to be there when you get older. It's a Ponzi scheme, and they're illegal unless the government does it. But that is true with a lot of things, of course.
No, can't touch your tits in public, no, no.
I won't pretend to know exactly what she's referring to there, as in men can't touch women's breasts in public anymore. I presume you mean without permission. So please do show me a point in time where sexual assault was accepted, and not to any time where women are idolised. And so sexual contact from men is held to a very high standard, and breaking the law is incredibly serious, but women receive much lighter sentences for the same crime. For example, women can't rape a man in British law. Forced envelopment is not rape. In the UK law. And I know this is pointed out in other cultures as well, in Islamic cultures perhaps. Oh, so women can't claim rape by a man unless X, Y, Z and all these criteria are filled. Well, men can't claim that they've been raped by a woman. At all. Even over here. Okay, so great, we've got another point where society is unequal and it favours women. You're not really helping your own argument here, are you?
What are you moaning about?
Everything's been sort of incremental, hasn't it? Like with the Me Too movement, or if
The Me Too movement was about feminist men being predatory. How many men have you found in support of that sort of behaviour? If it was accepted, there wouldn't be an outroar about how unacceptable it is. And we all know the trope of the feminist man who pretends to be feminist for women to then weasel their way into bed. Yes, we have to reset the count on how many times feminist men have assaulted a woman, or sexually assaulted a woman, very regularly, don't we? Wonder why that is. Maybe that movement just attracts that kind of people.
any woman gets any sort of, senior position, but it doesn't...
A senior position? That's great. When they earn it.
make any actual difference to the average woman, and I think it needs to be a systemic change, and the only way to do that is if men get involved.
Right. So you're right, you don't know, because there aren't any rights that men have that women don't, under the law. If a woman earns her high position, then well done to her, but let's not pretend that money is all that matters. Sure, it's a metric of success, but doesn't guarantee happiness. Some people prefer their family, and those people are mainly women. They may very well be happier than their working colleagues, if surveys are anything to go by, and statistics about how many women choose to not return to the same workload they had before having children, as I alluded to earlier. If feminism is about choice, then stop trying to force women to leave their children and work harder. The difference it makes to women, individual women, is that they find men to be too uneducated and fearful of approaching them, because of the plurality of victimhood culture raising false complaints that are believed as women are prioritised, and innocent until proven guilty is inadmissible in the court of public opinion, or even in private companies. Men get their lives ruined through false allegations that can even be proved false. And yet, their reputation is ruined. They can't get their lives together. Can't get another job. Perhaps that's why male suicide rates are so high.
You know, and if we were to imagine the patriarchy as a...
She mentions men getting involved. Well, if women are so strong and independent, why do you need men to get involved?
homogenous mass were to have some sort of self-awareness and go, yeah, if this is going to work, we're going to have to, like, level the playing field.
Tell us what you think the patriarchy is. Because you haven't defined it at all yet. No one has. So how do we know what we're talking about? And how would you level the playing field? Doesn't seem you want to. You want to level the podium to give equal outcome, not opportunity. Sounds more like equity than equality, but let's just conflate those terms and pretend we're good.
But the patriarchy is like a toddler, isn't it? And I've got two, you know.
I sympathise for children. Considering she alludes to being lesbian later, so I hope they're being raised by a strong man as well. I hope. I don't know. I don't know about her. Don't really want to. But let's hope she doesn't do what Charlize Theron is doing in raising her son as a girl.
Well, I know you can't reason with these people. I mean, like, if a toddler disagrees with you, what do? They, like, you know, throw themselves on the floor, you know, they scream at you, try and punch you, shit themselves.
Yes, great. This sounds a little like Antifa protesters and unhinged leftist university students, much like the people you're advocating for instead of against, but many true words spoken in jest.
I've never wanted to be part of the patriarchy before, but now I know you can shit yourself.
But patriarchy is also built on this premise that that men have this, I don't know, there's a sexual imperative to be dominant or to be aggressive, isn't it?
Yes, you can find that to be true just by looking at how men are built. The broader shoulders is a good clue, and how competitive we are also tends to help. But let's not forget the wider IQ bell curve, so you have the smartest and the stupidest people being male. Most CEOs, most prison inmates. You're only focused on removing men from one end of those. Can we guess which end it is? And the exceptions are a minority, but they are successful enough to be notable. The man at the bottom of the bell curve in prison might be responsible for ruining a whole load of people's lives, and the man at the top of the bell curve might be responsible for bettering a load of people's lives. So they're very notable.
And men can't fight that because it's nature, it's their natural urge, isn't it?
Would you want men to fight wanting to fight? That's quite a good one, actually. Maybe you are a comedian. Or a comedian.
But if that is the case, and it's hormonal and it's just a case of testosterone, then I think as women we can cure that. You know, a couple of HRT patches and a dry wank and bish bash off.
Hormone replacement therapy, I presume. Yes, in which case we're getting into the transgender debate. Depends if you're a surfer or a turf, I suppose. And we have found that lower testosterone males are more effeminate and weaker, so sure, there's a link. But why do all people need to be androgynous and the same, instead of being unique individuals? Isn't that what makes life good? The difference is, if people weren't different, then there wouldn't be any innovativity and creativity. And that's what makes life better, surely. I mean, I'd say so. Others, it's like a prison where we should all wear jumpsuits and have shaved heads. It's like Tim Paul's view of the future. Well, at least a dystopian version of the future.
Hastily dealt. What's that with it?
How much would that retail at just there? There's this thing, isn't there, Sarah, where, like, you know, what gains women do get, what small gains, just seem to be greeted with just absolute outrage.
What small gains are you referring to? Why can't you be specific? This is because they are all from female entitlement and exist solely because they drag men down to achieve it, don't they? It's like seeing a man in a wheelchair. Maybe he's broken his leg, poor guy. But we want equality. So you see another able-bodied man, well, you got to break his leg to put him into a wheelchair. Great. Now everybody's equal. How does that help? Maybe the able-bodied man is helping by pushing the man in the wheelchair along. They can help each other. But not in a socialist utopia.
And horror and backlash.
But that's what happens when what people have they consider to be taken away from them. So going for equality is difficult.
Equality is simple. Stop deciding laws based on gender. Done. That's it. But that isn't good enough for you, is it? You want women favoured even more under the law. That's not equality.
And you get lots of women on this show, which means there's a huge pushback within comedy, where it's much harder to be a white man now in comedy.
Well, fewer women want to be comedians. You can go into why men need to be funny from an evolutionary perspective if you want, given that women choose their mate, and not vice versa. But yes, if you're going for an inaccurate quota, a disproportionate amount, of course you're going to discriminate against capable people of your outgroup. In this case, as in every case, men. The best metric for this success is to see which comedians earn the most money, which comedians sell out the most arenas, which comedians are most successful with their tours. And you'll notice they're all men, which means women are happy to be with them and protected and cared for by them, so that women don't have to do the work, but they can spend the man's money.
It's really hard.
It's really hard.
Oral.
I've got this far without even knowing what a dry wank is.
It's so complicated. Like, I am a feminist, obviously.
Of course you have to say that while looking to your left, otherwise she will rip your head off, won't she? I said she. Sorry, hope you're not offended.
And I believe in equality.
Equality of opportunity or outcome. Please be specific so we know what we're talking about. Virtual signalling is great if you don't want to get anything done, but... that's it, isn't it? You don't actually want to get anything done. Fair enough.
But if we go to war with Russia and they bring back conscription, you will find me in the kitchen keeping my mouth shut.
Well, at least she's honest, and let's only hope this is addressed. That feminists want the responsibilities without the accountabilities, and blame the men when things go badly. So, yes, this is exactly right. She wants to be given things, and not have to risk anything for them. That's, again, very socialist, very communist, to say that the entrepreneur who risks things, doesn't get paid, isn't profitable for the first 10 years. Like Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Nobody cares then, do they? But then, when it finally pays off and he's making a lot of money from having spent so long underachieving, essentially, people then say, oh, that isn't fair, you're now earning money. It's like, well, then you take the risks. But of course you don't want to, do you? You just want the state to mandate to take it from the man and give it to the woman. And I know that I'm in the minority here. I know, but when you hate what I'm saying and disagree with me, do please think why, and by all means comment. Let me know why. I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think I am.
I genuinely find there's a real impasse when you try to say to guys, look, you know, feminism at least has a plan for you.
Okay, so of course that wasn't addressed at all. So the plan for men? What, be a wage slave and support the welfare state, while women make up false accusations and eventually drag the economy into the ground by voting for things we can't afford, while the few successful men have their pick of women and choose capital flight by leaving to another place where they're respected. Great plan!
And feminism at least includes men, and, you know, it's so hard to get them to take it on board.
I think it's more than that. It is so much about raising boys. We've got terrible things at the moment in terms of, like, the suicide rate. And
Thank you, Sarah. Seriously, thank you. You're doing very well this series to be more balanced. I greatly appreciate it, and I don't want that to go unobserved, so thank you. But would you, perchance, be able to give us an indication of why men? Failing school, not having relationships or sex, not going to university, dropping out if they do, and killing themselves?
how much it affects men under 45. That's a feminist problem.
Yes, it's the biggest killer.
Supporting women.
It's a feminist problem. It's a human problem. If we need a label, why not HRA, Human Rights Advocate?
Every single culture in the world helps families, which helps societies.
The patriarchy.
Yes. A human problem. Let's not make it a feminist issue then. But here comes the quota queen.
It also is toxic for men. It's toxic for young men, you know.
Great, so she's explaining how the patriarchy doesn't even help the people who apparently create it, or perpetuate it, or benefit from it. What is the patriarchy? You haven't explained it yet. Who does it benefit? You haven't said that yet. And how does it benefit them? You haven't said that yet. So why are we trying to tear down this this monolith that you seem to have created? Maybe it's a straw man, is it? Is it just another fallacy? It's a straw monolith fallacy because it isn't a man, but I bet you wish it was. You could tear it down. So what is it? Who benefits and how? Because at the moment you're saying it's at the detriment to women and to men. So what is it? Why does it exist? Who supports it? You're not making any sense.
Because it limits men in terms of their emotions, what they're told they can and can't feel.
Yeah.
And
how is that the patriarchy? I don't hear that at all. I hear that from feminists saying what we can and can't feel. That's a good one, but again, unintended.
You've got to teach young boys that all of these emotions are human, that they're not gendered, and give them a valve. Because
Yes, thank you. I do agree, actually. I agree with the valve. So maybe let boys be boys, you know, and don't create the ideal student in the image of a girl. Maybe then we'd be doing better. Holding boys to the standards of girls is not a good idea. Surely we understand that, unless you're trying to say that gender is a social construct and everybody's actually the same and we still be androgynous and we're going back to that. But I don't think you are. I mean, PragerU did a nice little video on the wall on boys by Christina Hoff Sommers, so go check that out if you're interested.
otherwise, they are literally going to be on Twitter calling me a prick.
Feminism isn't exactly a new concept, and yet people still can't seem to agree on the meaning of the term.
That's because you continue to move the goalposts. And you're not precise with what you want. It's just always more, now, isn't it? I can't go on with any more of this today. I've gone on long enough. Yes, there is more to the segment, we're about halfway through, but not today. I'm going to leave that to tomorrow. Okay? Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hopefully this is better as a kind of background thing, because I know when I watch videos I don't actually watch them, I just listen to them. But thank you for the watch time, for watching all the way through. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, and why, or dislike if you want. You know, let this channel fade into obscurity. And I will see you next time, tomorrow.